Everybody, this is Rydo, and we are almost to the point where the new expansion for Hearthstone, Rise of the Shadows, is here. But we can look at the cards before then, so let's hop in here and look at the new cards. Last time we spent a lot of time looking at the Paladin cards. So to see the cards, you click this button to go into crafting mode. Then click this selector to select the new expansion, Rise of the Shadows. And then you click Include Uncraftable Cards to see the things you can't craft quite yet because they're not released yet. Yeah, we spent a lot of time looking at Paladin cards. Today we're going to look at Priest cards. So our first card we have is a 0 mana spell called Forbidden Words. Spend all of your mana, destroy a minion with that much attack or less. So it's not a very common occurrence that you'll run across something with more than 10 attack, and you would have to play this card on the 10th turn for that to work. This is one of those spells that is linear, so on the first turn you could destroy something with 1 attack, on the second turn you could destroy something with 2 attacks, on the third turn you could destroy something with 3 attack, on the fourth turn you can destroy something with 4 attacks. At the 4th turn or later, that's when it probably would be best used. If you wait till the 8th, 9th, or 10th turn, which would be pretty late game, and you're using this, it's probably too late for you and you've already lost. It's questionable, certainly, whether this is worth having in a deck, a priest deck even. It might be another way to kill a minion that is just getting in your way a lot, but there's probably better cards out there. This is a rare card, by the way. That's what the blue gem means. Next we have a 0 mana spell that is an epic card, which epic, common, and rares don't really mean anything other than the amount of arcane dust they're worth. You can have 2 of any of those classes. Only legendary cards can you have only 1. So this spell is called Lazul's Scheme. Reduce the attack of an enemy minion by 1 until your next turn. Upgrades each turn. So you draw this on the first turn and it would upgrade to reducing an enemy's attack by 2 on the well, actually, if you draw this at the beginning of the game, it would probably reduce it by 2 on the first turn, and by the time you're at the 10th turn, it would probably reduce the attack by 11. Again, maybe not super useful, and I don't know what the point of this is. It kind of feels like this would synergize with this, but it kind of doesn't either. It's kind of one or the other. Generally speaking, when you're playing in Hearthstone, you don't want to, or you just don't in general run into enemies that have more than 8 attack. If you're running into something with more than 8 attack, it's probably too late for you again. So both of these spells cards seem kind of pointless. Next we have a 2 mana, 2 attack, 2 health common minion called the Evil Conscriptor. It has a death rattle to add a lackey to your hand. Now the lackeys are a new key phrase that have been added in this expansion, and it does say something weird, that we are halfway through the hero class, and this is the first card we've seen that has even mentioned lackeys. I have no idea what the lackey options are. I'm fairly certain that they are 1 mana, 1 attack, 1 health minions. They probably have some special effect. Playing priest, it's probably not likely you're going to try and double a death rattle or activate death rattles more often than they should be activated. So I'm not really sure how this would play out with a priest either. Priests are kind of strong in kind of one specific way, so if they are trying to add a new strategy to priests so that people play priests differently, which would be appreciated, I don't see that yet. It may just be much like the paladin, a case where priests are just kind of strong, and so they're going to get not so good cards so that they don't continue to be overpowered and overplayed compared to other hero classes. Next we have a 2 mana, 2 attack, 2 health minion called the Shadowy Figure, epic minion. It has a battle cry, transform into a 2/2 copy of a friendly death rattle minion. Well, maybe there is some idea of doubling the death rattles, because let's say you put 2 of these on the field, you play 2 of these to make 4 of these on the field, you've got 4 death rattle minions on the field. Why? I'm not sure. There's probably a better way to synergize this. There are explosive bombs that you could get on the field that when they die they will deal like 2 damage to the enemy hero. So if you got those on the field and then transformed this into a 2/2 copy of an explosive bomb, it would be better than the 0 attack 2 health explosive bombs are by default, and it would have that special ability to do 2 damage when it dies. So that actually would synergize with some of the cards, some of the neutral cards that already exist. Next we have a 3 mana, 3 attack, 2 health legendary minion called Madame Lazul. She was the character that they were using in all the trailers and teasers, the fortune teller character for this expansion. Battle cry, discover a copy of a card in your opponent's hand. You might find a card that synergizes with this, so you discover 2 copies of cards in your hands, and discover is the key phrase where you're shown 3 options. So you would then potentially be given 3 options, take your pick, and then 3 different options, or possibly even the same options overlapping to take your pick. Frankly though, if your strategy is to steal from somebody else's strategy, you're not going to win in Hearthstone. So I don't think this is a very good card. Like, there's no consistency there, and anything that's even slightly random is not something you should be playing if you're trying to win in ranked play. Next we have a 4 mana, 4 attack, 7 health minion. That's actually quite a lot of health, called the Hinch Clan Shade Quilt. Shade Quill? Not T. Shade Quill, yeah. As a death rattle to restore 5 health to the enemy hero. There is a priest card that will change restore 5 health to do 5 damage. So theoretically, you might have a 5 card combination if you put 2 of these on the field, play 2 of these, so there are 4 on the field now that will restore 5 health to the enemy hero, and that would be 4 cards. And then you play that other priest card that turns restore 5 health to do 5 damage. Then you've got 20 damage potentially to do for 5 cards that would do 20 damage to the enemy hero. That being said, for that 5 card combination, I think somebody would see you setting them up that way and would probably try and stop that from happening. And that's still not a 1-turn win. Next we have a 4 mana spell called Unsleeping Soul. Silence a friendly minion, then summon a copy of it. I assume that means a copy that is also silenced. There are a couple of cards from way back in the day, some of the very first cards that are very powerful but can't attack, and that's just their ability. So if you silenced that card so it could attack, then make a copy of it, that's a pretty good deal. But frankly, I don't think too many people would want to play that strategy. That's kind of crazy. Meanwhile, there's probably nothing else this really works with. I'm trying to think if you were to summon a 2/2 copy of something that was actually a 10 attack and 10 health, and you silenced that, I don't think it would change back into a 10 attack, 10 health copy. I don't think it works that way. There might be a few cards that this synergizes with, but that's going to be some highly specific ideas that I can't think of right now. Next we have a 5 mana, 2 attack, 6 health minion called Convincing Infiltrator. It has taunt. This feels like this is the second taunt game, second taunt minion we've seen in the expansion also. And it has a death rattle, destroy a random enemy minion. Not a bad card to also work with this, like getting a 2/2 taunt that destroys a random enemy minion. That synergizes pretty well. And then we have, at the end of your turn, summon a friendly minion that died this game. This is an 8 mana, 6 attack, 8 health legendary minion called Katrina Murray. Murte? Yeah, Murte, I suppose that's a T. I'm sitting 10 feet away from my TV screen, so like some of this text is a little small to read. At the end of your turn, every turn, for the 3 or 4 turns this would stay alive, summoning a minion that died this game is kind of nice, but probably not that special. This is the kind of legendary card that I would have if I have nothing better to do, but I don't know if there's a real strategy or synergy in that makes sense. Maybe in Wild it would make more sense, but in Standard play probably not. And then they're kind of doubling down with that concept. The final card we have here is a 9 mana spell called Mass Resurrection. Summon 3 friendly minions that died this game. So again, it feels like, just like the Paladin, feels like the Priest cards are not really getting a lot here that does anything for them, unless there are just going to be some neutral cards that make more sense. As far as standard Priest decks go, you're still going to probably see a lot of people playing Northshire Cleric to draw cards whenever a minion's healed, Inner Fire to turn the health into the attack. There's a couple other cards that add health, like Power World Shield, and then there's one that doubles health out there too. If you get desperate, you might play Mind Blast. Here's Divine Spirit, doubling the health of the mirror minion. So you can easily get a 1-turn kill by doubling the health of a minion twice with these 2 cards, getting its health down to up to over 30, and then using Inner Fire to turn its health over 30 into its attack over 30. Also, there's Light Spawns that get 1 attack whenever a minion is healed. This gives a random friendly minion +1/+1. Making 2/2 copies of this would be helpful, because then you'd be buffing up more people. Making 2/2 copies of Radiant Elemental to make spells cost less might be helpful. Here's some more cards that buff up your cards. Not really seeing anything here that really works well for cards that have died. Yeah. Here's a Light Spawn that its attack is always equal its health, so you can double it and buff it up to over 30 for a 1-turn kill also. And here's Arachni. I always called it Arachni, but I guess it's Arachni Soul Priest. Your cards and spells that restore health now deal damage instead. So you'll see a lot of that. You can silence all enemies and draw a card. It's a lot of get your opponent's random things. You'll still see a lot of Holy Novas getting played by people. Yeah, just a lot of things. Here's a resurrect minions. Prophet Velen doubles the damage and healing of your spell cards, making them even more powerful. So, but I don't know how you would kill Prophet Velen and then bring him back to the field. But sure, you make a 2/2 copy of Prophet Velen, then you're doubling attack and doubling attack again and doubling attack a third time potentially. So yeah, you could do a considerable amount of damage, and you'll probably see somebody using these new cards to set the new world record for the longest possible turn in Hearthstone, because it's a lot of shenanigans to do that. Destroy all minions with 5 or more attack, take control of a minion, summon a 1/1 copy of each minion in your deck. Sure. There's definitely some strategies that might work in that, but not a lot. Cost 1 less for each spell you've played in this turn. The bombs would be an early game idea, certainly. Though, Death Rattle deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So, you play 2 of these, you summon 2/2 copies of these. You would have 4 of these on the field, 2 of which could attack because they have 2 health, 2 of which could not attack because they have 0 attack. Yeah, they can attack. The other 2 could attack because they have 2 attack. And then if something killed all 4 of those people, all of those goblin bombs, they would do 8 damage to the enemy hero on potentially the 3rd or 4th turn, which is a lot of damage, certainly, but maybe not as much as you need. Meanwhile, Light Warden is a classic card, so it's not going anywhere. Making a 2/2 copy of this as a priest would be a good idea, because it starts only as a 1/1, and then you could have 4 of these on the field, and every time a character is healed you could get more attack. So yeah, there's a couple of cards that make sense, and if you were playing Murlocs and you wanted to make more of these, that would make sense. If you were playing a secret deck as a priest, that would make sense. Frankly, just getting more cards on the field of the same type actually makes a lot of sense in a lot of scenarios. Here's an example of a card that you play this on the 2nd turn. You, on the 4th turn, cast a spell that silences it and makes it a copy of it. You would have 2 4/5s that could attack at that point for what would have been 6 mana in total. That's not a bad strategy either. Feel like I could go on, like summoning a second 2/2 copy of Doomslayer. Doomslayer would be helpful in case somebody has a silence card or is trying to stop you from using Doomslayer. At a certain point, I think you stop playing Doomslayer now, because it's not as valuable as you'd think. Having extra copies of Knife Jugglers would be useful. For a priest, having extra spell damage, maybe not super useful. I mean, I guess you could just keep on going. This is the most attack and health you can have for 2 mana, I believe. If you just want to irritate your opponent, play 2 of these and then make 2 more copies of this so that all minions cost 4 more. That's a way to make people get irritated and potentially rage quit. But I think you actually have to... let's go back here and double check. I don't think the options are as much as I think. Priest. yeah, it has to be a death rattle card. So that actually does limit your options. Some of those actually wouldn't work. Yeah. So you could still play this fine. We could potentially reduce the cost of beast. You could play this fine too. You could play that. You could play that certainly and get some spell damage, but light spawn is out. Some of those other ones I suggested were kind of out. Like they wouldn't make sense. And like Mechathune only works if you don't have anything else on the field, so making a 2/2 copy of that doesn't make sense. Shuffling Corrupted Blood in each player's deck might make sense, but that's an extremely late game strategy. I probably will see some people play that though. Shuffling more Corrupted Bloods. But a lot of these other ones are so late game, I doubt you would want to do that. And then priest-wise, return any spells cast on this minion to your hand. Maybe that would work. Maybe you could buff up a test subject and then make a 2/2 copy of it and then get double the number of spells. There were certainly in the puzzle solo player expansion when this came out was some strategies like that where you could buff up a test subject and then make a copy of it and then destroy a copy to get all the spells back and then buff up that copy and make a copy of that copy, so then you get twice as much spells again. Eventually it got insane really quickly. Yeah, nothing really jumps out though as a one-turn kill or early game victory by making a 2/2 copy of a death rattle. It probably is just a card that is mediocre at best, right at the medium level, and not as cool as it might have been if you could just make a 2/2 copy of any friendly minion, which you probably can with other spells. Well, I don't want this to go too long. In general, I am still of the opinion that Priest Paladin too powerful, and they realized it, so they're not getting large amounts of helpful cards. I still don't see any strategy for summoning 3 friendly minions that died in the game. But we'll just leave it there. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.